Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and yeah, I'm reviewing Hail Caesar by the Coen brothers from 2016. Why not? So this is not the usual type of movie I would review on this channel, but it is a month and a half into a lockdown. I'm kind of bored. I just saw this yesterday, and it was freaking amazing. So it came up in conversation because my other channel I talk about the comic book industry, which is collapsing, and how the pros they're very political, they're very condescending, they seem to just absolutely hate the fans. So there's a scene in Hail Caesar, somebody was sharing a clip that was very similar. There's a actor George Clooney, and he's talking trash about the medium, the boss, just talking down to everyone, and then this executive, this is set like in the 50s, gets up right in his office and starts smacking him across the face, and he's basically like, "Your worth is an actor. This is a the art matters. You are in service of the art. I don't want to hear your politics, your theories. You get out there and you act." And then he finishes it after slapping him, and the guy's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then he goes, "Stop. Now go out there and be a star." So I was like, this is great. I was a little confused because I was like, I don't understand why James Brolin, I remember this movie coming out and it was advertised almost exclusively as a George Clooney comedy. And it absolutely is not that. I gotta say, it made it like they shot it for nothing. It's 22 million. It looks fantastic, except for some pretty bad CGI. It made 3 times as much as it cost, so it either made a small profit or it broke even. But I gotta say, it had the worst. First of all, it had one of those like trashy posters where it's just like they don't really tell you what the movie's about, and then it's just like, here's a bunch of people you've heard of. Do you remember the fat guy from all the Judd Apatow movies? He's in this for 1 or 120 minutes. Scarlett Johansson is on the poster. James Brolin, you know him kind of. George Clooney. So everything was just based around George Clooney. So this is an awesome movie about it's a Josh Brolin movie. He's basically a fixer. He works at a studio, and his job at one point they show his actual physical. It's like vice president in charge of physical production. But what he is he's a fixer. He's working in 1950s Hollywood. Things are still very kind of glamorous, and there's a lot of control over the image of actors and actresses. And his job is to fix things with these stars who are almost predestined to get into scandal, where it's just something, he has a secretary. Oh, where's so and so? Oh, that's he's on a bender. Where's she? Oh, she's with her, the guy she's two-timing her husband with. Oh, this one. And he just goes around and fixes all of these problems. Now, one of the problems is George Clooney's character gets kidnapped by communists, and then some people described it as being brainwashing. I just saw it as a guy who's not very smart, just kind of going along to get along, which is not to be condescending, but one of the things with actors is that they all they audition their whole life, except for very few exceptions. So they're good at being ingratiating and making you feel like you're the most important person in the room. So yeah, it's just this awesome character piece on Josh Brolin, who's kind of like I don't know, like a Philip Marlowe type of character, going around Hollywood and solving problems of all these movie stars. There's if you want to tie it into geek stuff, this was, I believe, the main movie that got Alden Ehrenreich noticed by Hollywood, and then got him cast as Han Solo. And I gotta say, from this movie, he really does feel like he's gonna be the next big thing. He plays this kind of like Tom Mix, Hopalong Cassidy. I actually think, like, no joke, I think Leonardo DiCaprio was influenced a lot by this Alden's portrayal of this cowboy character for when he played a cowboy actor in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They're actually, the two of them are like a really great bookend. They're both about these kind of old school tough guys, having to deal with the realities of Hollywood while also kind of, still really believing in them. There's some great moments where you see this guy like going around like slapping people and bribing cops, but then at one point he's just watching the dailies, and he's just kind of mesmerized by the magic of Hollywood. There's also another great scene where there's a really well acted scene, and you see kind of all the cynical people in the crew kind of stop and go like, oh, something's going on here. That being said, it almost verges into some like Tim and Eric awkwardness humor from like 10 years ago. They'll do these scenes where they're, shooting a movie, but then it's obviously an edited scene. And do you want to see, what is that guy's name? I got Channing Tatum in a really bad wig dancing as a sailor for like 5+ minutes. Well, you're gonna get it. Do you want to see a water ballet with Scarlett Johansson? Well, you're gonna get it. Do you want it? Probably not. Could that have been cut? Yeah, but I'm guessing part of the fun of this is just, the Coens are like 60. This is like their 24th movie, and they're just like 23rd, 24th. They're like, hey, do you want to spend like a week like just doing like a water ballet? They're like, yeah, sure, fine, yeah, whatever. But the kind of the message of it, that it's not all these silly, it's not the politics and it's not the scandals, it's the work that gives worth to artists. I thought it was a great message, and I really liked the aspect of all these kind of silly and cynical people, but they can still kind of if everything hits correctly, if that scene really works. There's also a great scene where Alden Ehrenreich, he's a cowboy, he's basically a stuntman, but they have a series of movies based around him singing and doing stunts and very little talking. So he gets called up to a drama, and he's horrible. And it's just Ralph Fiennes trying to get him to say one line, just one line, and he can't even do it. But then they go to the editing bay, and I think it's Frances McDormand. It was a really dark scene, and I was watching it on my phone. But they show how they basically took a fit, handsome guy, in a nice tux on a nice set with a good actress who can actually act, and they cut around his ability to do a dramatic scene, and it actually really, really works. And then there's some weird Coen brothers, where her like the editor's scarf gets caught in the gears, and then she almost gets like choked. Fantastic. The only things that I didn't like were there's some really bad CGI. It's a $22 million art film. There's gonna be, if the CGI is in there, it's gonna be terrible. And then like I wasn't really crazy about just sitting there for 5 minutes watching Channing Tatum dance in a sailor suit. I was like, okay, let's wrap this up. So anyway, I know, even if literally, if you're not a Coen Brothers fan, especially if you're not like a George Clooney, I swear George Clooney is in like 10 minutes of this movie. It's probably more, but that was it's like 15 years after his heyday, and that's all they advertise this as, is a George Clooney comedy. What the hell? What is it, 2005? But honestly, this sounds like a weird recommendation. If you like movies, and if you like the idea of making movies, I think you're going to love this movie. Feel free, when you see Scarlett Johansson water dancing or Channing Tatum in a sailor suit, feel free to just go ahead and fast forward to that bit. You'll probably enjoy it a lot more. So anyway, and like I said, this would be a great double feature with Hail Caesar and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I think I'm about to finish up that TMNT movie from like 14 years ago. I really liked it when it came out, and it's taken me like 3 weeks to finish it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.